Welcome guys to another episode of the Mud Buddy Service Series. I have right here in front of me a Generation 2 transmission. I know I've been taking a couple requests from a couple of customers on how to remove these things and how to service it, change the seal and the oil. I don't think it's pretty. I think the oil changing is really self-explanatory, but mostly how to replace the whole transmission, how to remove it, and if you have to change the seal or do anything inside, any of the seals inside, I'm gonna be showing you on this episode how to do all that. I did go ahead and started with the basic things that you guys have seen in different videos prior. I did go ahead and remove all obviously the magnets and whatnot, but also loosened up all these bolts back here. Obviously, as you guys know, the 8 right here in the back and the 2 on the inside the belt housing. And what I like to do is actually to lock it in place, because you obviously don't want any tension on the belt. When you loosen all the bolts and the tensioner bolt, the belt is going to lose the tension, but you want to hold. You actually want to hold the belt housing, want to hold it up, so you got that slack and you can slide that transmission out without having to remove anything else. So what I like to do, you're gonna squeeze the belt a little bit, and you might want to do it a couple of times. You can see how the belt housing, it's all sliding up and down. So if you can grab a flat blade screwdriver, and you will see how there is some RTV on each one of these bolts right here inside. Remove that RTV and it'll be easier for you to bring that up. Now, so what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna squeeze the belt. You'll see how it goes up, and then I grab my 9/16 and I just make one of the bolts back here, just tighten it so it doesn't come back down. All right, now once you did that, when you did that, I'm gonna grab what I do, just get an impact. If you don't have an impact wrench, you can lock this transmission. I'm gonna get the camera right here close. I'm gonna get a close shot. You'll see the notch matching that hole. You can actually put a 1/2-inch bolt right there. That's what it's made for. You put a 1/2-inch bolt right there. You hold it with a crowbar or something long that is not gonna bend. You hold it, and then you grab your you get your ratchet with a 5/6. It's not 5/16, forgive me. It's 5/8, and then you loosen that thing up. It's got blue Loctite, and it's only 55 foot-pounds, so it's really not that tight. And that's how you do it. I'm actually gonna do it here manually, so just in case, I'm taking in consideration that not everybody has that compressor and the air and everything for the impact tools and all that. Make sure you save everything, all the hardware. When I remove this, you'll see your radius key. You want to save that. Those are pretty easy to lose because they are not the biggest ones. But here is when it comes the difference between the Generation 1 and the Generation 2. The Gen 1, once you take this middle bolt, you can grab the brake plate and it'll come up. This one, as you can see, you can't, and it's actually pressurized because I have not removed the oil. So it's got a little bit of pressure in there from the oil and all that stuff inside. So this is not gonna get separated. You will not be able to take the planetary gears out and then get a look into the inside. This is gonna come out all in one piece. Now I'm gonna show you a trick what I do, because normally what I would have done is grab my slide hammer, bolt it onto the middle shaft, and then start hitting it. But in the case that you are not replacing that main seal, you don't want to ruin it. If you start hitting it like this, you're going to ruin the main seal. It's going to get concaved inside, and it's going to, that spring that's inside is going to come out of place, and then there's no more seal. You will have to replace it. In this case, this transmission, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to go and rebuild it and do that. But right now, for you guys that are not planning on replacing that seal, just get you a C-clamp. This is a 4-inch C-clamp, and sorry, what I was saying is that you would have to hold this thing pretty tight, so when you start hammering it out, you don't damage that seal. So you pretty much almost need two people, one to hold it pretty tight and the other one just to slide it out. So what I do is I just grab my C-clamp, and I'm not making it super tight. I am not going crazy on it. All that I want it to do is just to hold that in place. That's it. Just to hold this in place like if the bolt was there, and then I can just go ahead and start hitting it. And you're gonna be able to see inside how the magnet starts separating from the armature, the plate. And this is what I'm talking about when the C-clamp comes into play, because if I would have done this without the C-clamp, that seal inside would have been gone by now. First two hits and that seal gets ruined. As you can tell, I have not done anything to this thing. This motor, I think it's got close to 70 hours. So this is real life. This is not a brand new motor that I can just go and pull it really easy. This is what you guys are gonna encounter, whether you're doing it as a dealer or in your garage if you have the tools. You can start seeing now it's not touching the magnet is not touching that anymore. A little bit of a tip that I can give you: when you're hitting it, you don't want to have it up in the travel position. You want to have the motor level. The reason for that is because if you have it in the travel position, you want to be pulling upwards, and if you're pulling this way, you're actually going to be binding the crankshaft with the transmission, and it's going to be a lot harder. That's what I'm trying to, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I am actually lifting this up a little bit so it's straight on the crankshaft, and it comes out relatively easier. And it's out. So okay, so now that I have it out, it's hanging on to the crankshaft. I am going to remove the C-clamp and take this out. All right, so here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about right here. I'm gonna move this very carefully because you can see right here, it's my rounded key. Now, something that I forgot to mention, and that was something that I should have done. I should have put a rag here just in case that I would have lost that key and it would have fallen. Luckily, this is magnetized a little bit, so that saved me from having to remove the lower unit or having to fish that out. This key is the one that you don't want to lose. The reason for that is because when you get a new transmission or a replacement or whatever, you will not get another one of this. You have to save this as well as the bolt, the main bolt. So that's how you remove the transmission. I am going to go ahead and put it on the bench. I'll tie it up on the vise, and then I will show you how to remove the seal, how to remove, and yeah, pretty much just the main seal and how to look inside it, because we're gonna use a hydraulic puller in this case. It doesn't necessarily have to be a hydraulic. You can use any 3-jaw puller, but that's what I will be using, and the Allen socket. But I'll show you guys that in just a little bit when I have it on the table. All right, guys, so welcome back. I have that transmission here on the bench, and we're gonna proceed to take this one apart. As you can see, all I did is just drain the oil, put it in a cup, whatever, and I have not done anything else to it. It's just cold. I just took it out of the motor, and I'm gonna show you how to tear this thing apart. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take the brake plate off and show you the snap ring that's holding the seal, the big seal, and I will show you why that seal is not replaceable anymore. Okay, so you probably, I'm thinking for this you don't need to have it on the vise, but it is recommended. Now this is a 532, I believe, Allen tip, and what I do, I actually put it in there and put pressure on it, so it doesn't slip or rounds up. Sorry, it's getting loud. So it's not rounding up those screws. All right, now I'm gonna use a little hammer, make this loose. And here's the snap ring that I'm talking about, right here. Just like the Gen 1, the same snap ring you'll have on the Gen 2. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this. Pretty easy, right there. All right, now here comes the tricky part, because put it upside down so I can get all this garbage out of the threads. Okay, now here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna replace that back on, I'm sorry. And I'm only gonna use three screws, 3 bolts, whatever you, and I'm only gonna use 3 of the little screws. All right, so I replaced that plate on there, and you can use, okay, I'll show you the vise that I'm sorry, not vise, the puller I'm using. This puller is actually a really nice puller. I just got a Harbor Freight, get you this thing. I think it's like $80, and if you're a dealer, a shop or you're gonna be using it quite a bit. If not, it's only $80. I think it's a pretty good investment. I have one in my garage, and I've used it several times for anything from this kind of stuff to automotive. You'll use it a lot. I use it a lot. But anyway, so you can go and what we're gonna do, we're gonna pull this up, and it's gonna come up with a seal and the middle hub. What I do, I just grab a 1/2-inch bolt and put it in there. That'll give me the distance that I need to bring this thing up. You notice I haven't used the vise. The vise is going to be to separate this sprocket from the hub. Okay, that's when it gets tight. And that was the seal right there. Okay, easy as that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a hydraulic puller. You can use one of the other ones, the manual one. It works exactly the same. All right, so before I take everything out, I'm gonna remove the brake plate. And it all comes back out. Notice the seal is out again, and here's where I'm gonna show you why it's not reusable. All right, you see how this got kind of like pushed in, it concaved, and there's no spring here anymore, and obviously that spring missing is not gonna seal against that hub anymore. That's why these cannot be reused, because once you pull this up, it's gonna be gone, pretty much. It's useless. This thing is not gonna, there's no spring, this thing is bent, and it's gone. Honestly, I think it is a lot better to replace it. It's a $25 part, I believe. I'm not sure about that, but you can always call Travis at Backwater Performance, and he will be happy to tell you what you need and the prices and all that. After this point, everything is pretty much just like the Gen 1. You have the same components, different sizes, different different sizes, and they look different, obviously, but it's pretty much the same concept. You have the solar gear, you got your planetary and your ring gear. Now you do have a little bit of oil in here, even though I drained it prior to this. I still do have quite a bit of oil, so I'm just gonna grab some paper towels and let it soak. Now I'm gonna just let it soak a couple of minutes while I put it on the vise. And this is the part where I hear a lot of customers and actually technicians that they're like, hey man, how do I do this? I've been struggling with these screws that are holding the sprocket. I don't know how to get them out. They are all stripped out and I have to weld them, and it is a pain in the butt. But I actually did the same. I was in the same boat that you were, and I discovered that heat was my best friend in this case. And I'm not talking about little tiny heat with a lighter or one of those little tiny torches. No, I'm talking about heat. You guys know how much I love heat. So I'm gonna hold it. For this process, I like to put the drain screws back on. Not because I am afraid of leaking oil, but that's where I put it on the vise. That way I don't damage this aluminum hub. It is the newer models. It is anodized, so you don't want to damage the surface. And the other ones are just plain aluminum. Again, you also don't want to damage that. So I'm gonna go ahead and heat this up, and I will show you. I'm gonna start on this side, so I'll show you. Same size tip. It is the 530 seconds Allen tip, and I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Okay, so now I'm not actually worried about melting anything. I'm not worried about melting the seal in here because I'm gonna replace it. I'm not worried about melting the plastic in those bearings because they are, if I'm replacing that gear, it's because something went bad and I am gonna be replacing it. So I am not worried about melting or destroying anything that it's not going to be replaced anyways. Cut that. heat it up like that for about 3-4 minutes. I like to go around on this half of the sprocket. What this is gonna do, two things. Because this is aluminum, it's obviously gonna expand it, but it's also breaking the Loctite. These things, when we assemble them, we use red Loctite, and they are about 15. It's measured in inch pounds, but it's about 12 foot-pounds, 255, I believe, inch pounds. I'm gonna grab a little brass punch, and each one of them, I'm gonna give it a just like that. These things are going to be very hot, so I'm going to go on the other side now. It's just that easy. This transmission, I believe, when I took it out, I took this one out because the engine failed, and the customer wants to rebuild the engine, so I'm sorry, the customer is replacing the engine, obviously, but he also wants to re-gear it. On this side, I'm not gonna leave the torch on. I'm not gonna leave it on it as long as the other side, because it was already hot, and because the aluminum transfers the heat pretty easy. You can see how the bearings are bubbling. Punch it. I'm not even hitting it hard. And that's it. 6 red Loctite screws out. All right, now, because this is gonna be very, very hot, grab your towel. Get this right here in the middle so it's lifted. You don't have any. We're gonna separate this sprocket from the hub, and I made this tool right here, but you can use a punch, you can use a piece of pipe, anything. You just have to punch, you just have to, anything that rests on those bearings in the transmission bearings. And this one's right here, pretty much what I'm doing. I'm putting this right here, and I'm gonna hit it down to separate it. Some transmissions take a really hard hit, a couple of them. Some others, you just tap it and it comes right out. Starts separating. And it's out. That's it. You can see how the seal was created very, very nice, evenly on that sprocket. I mean, honestly, I think that sprocket, it's still good. It's just cleaning it up a little bit and ooh, this thing is hot. All right, so I'm gonna leave it on the table just for a while. Wait for it to cool down, and I'll show you. I don't think I have this seal right now with me. I may be able to get a different one. It'll work the same, and but I'll show you how to put it all back together and how to clean it all up. I actually gonna leave it here just to cool down. You can feel how it's very, very hot. Luckily, aluminum, it just dissipates the heat really easy, really fast. Actually, I guess I could put it outside. We are right now. It's what, the end of February, and we are. I think it's gonna be 30 degrees, the high temperature today. So if I put it outside, it's gonna be chilled in just a minute. All right, guys. Well, I am back. While I was gone, what I was doing, I was actually cleaning out some parts. I'll show you. So I did separate all that stuff, the sprocket, all that crap. I just threw it away. Obviously, you're gonna throw it away. I do have now the parts that I'm gonna use to rebuild it. I have the inner seal, the new big seal sprocket, and I did clean this out pretty good. There's no dirt, there's no, a little bit of old oil, but there was no metal or anything in it. And the solar gear, I am gonna use a new insulator, new bolts, obviously, and it is, I would recommend to have, when you have this piece out, just get you a tap and then just chase those threads back again, just to make sure, because you don't want to be almost done and then you put this thing on and it just galls and seizes and all that stuff. So just get you a tap, chase those threads. If you can, do it on the gear as well, and that's going to save you a lot of time, and you will know that for sure you will get that clean, and the Loctite is going to work pretty good. So I'm actually going to use a palm sander just to sand all the little bit of rust that I have here. It's not that it's absolutely necessary. You can use just a light sandpaper, but I'm going to do this in a little bit. I'm going to show you this part. I'm gonna put this right there. So I'm gonna spray this thing with just a bunch of carb cleaner, brake cleaner. I actually have seen people use gasoline for this. I mean, as long as there's no, as long as it gets clean, it honestly, it doesn't, I don't think it matters. You're not gonna damage the coating on this. You're not gonna damage the gears. Like I said, there was no metal in this transmission, so I am really not worried about any of this stuff. Just getting all the old grease and old oil out of there. After this stuff, I'm gonna use some paper towels. What I have in this bottle is just acetone. You can use acetone or paint thinner or the same solvent that you sprayed on it. Carb cleaner, brake cleaner. I like to use my carb cleaner because it actually cleans it up and it's strong enough so it can get all the grease out, and there's no, it doesn't leave the residue on the surface, you know, like the acetone, it will, or paint thinner, I think it'll leave kind of like a film, and when it comes to sealing and the silicone and all that stuff, it doesn't really like it. It doesn't seal that very good. So I do like to use that brake cleaner right there for the final touch. One thing to really, you do want to make sure of is that there is absolutely no damage in this wall that I'm cleaning right now, because that's where the seal is gonna, that's the surface that the seal is gonna seal against. So if you have any kind of damage to it, a scratch or garbage, residue, some dust, whatever that can prevent that seal from sitting right on that wall, that you want to get rid of that. Now if you notice that there's a scratch on this wall right here, you can grab, which is really hard because the anodizing, it's pretty hard, so it is really kind of hard to damage this wall. It is easier on the Generation 1 transmission because the way that we pry it out, you can go and check out that video if you have a Gen 1 transmission. But on this one, the way that the seal comes out, it's not as, you really have no contact with that wall, so really there is it's a slimmer chance for you to damage it. But in case that you do damage it, you can have a really fine, you can use Scotch-Brite, you know, that maroon pad, or you can use a light emery cloth to clean it off and get rid of that scratch and make it smooth. Okay, so now I'm using that brake cleaner, that carburetor cleaner. Just making sure that there's no more contaminants in here. I think we are pretty good here. Okay, I'm just gonna grab a little bit of air and blow it out. One more pass with my clean paper towel. That's it. It's clean. All right, so we got clean parts, new parts. We are going to proceed and put it back together. First thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab my red Loctite because that's all I use in this. I don't use blue or anything else. I use red Loctite on these two gears. I'm sorry, on the hub and then the gear. So I'm gonna grab it really fast. Here is the thing. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put some Loctite because these are blind holes right here. They're not through holes, they are blind holes. So the Loctite, you wanna put it in the threads first. Okay, and now what I do, we use this sealant. This is more aluminum, because this is aluminum, I'm gonna use this special RTV. You can get it on the auto parts store. This is Loctite brand. I can actually show you the number. Because I don't remember it. Loctite 518. Ta-da. This is a flange sealant. You just go to the auto parts store, make sure that it's good for aluminum against aluminum. And I don't use any of the black RTV or the gray RTV just because of the oil resistancy and all that stuff. So this is specially made for aluminum against aluminum. Also, there is the gray one, the ultra gray, that I like to use on the crankcase cover when I replace that. Either I replace the crankshaft, or for whatever reason you have to open up the crankcase cover, I use the ultra gray. I don't like using that one in this application. I just like to use the one that is recommended by just by the Loctite, you know, now I'm gonna kind of like squeeze it. I'm gonna give it a little bit. You don't need that much because you also don't want it to spread out and contaminate the belt. Okay. Now I'm gonna grab this again, make sure that this is pretty clean, the surface that is gonna sit against. Okay. That's it. And the new screws. I do have Loctite in the hole. I'm just gonna put a little bit more in that bolt just to make sure I have enough. Like I said, this is the way I do it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it this way. As long as the final product is the same and it seals and it works. The pattern for this is just like your truck tires, your car tires. You go kind of like in a triangle pattern. Okay. Now I'm gonna put it on the vise. Not too tight. And we are gonna tighten it. Like I said, it's about 255 inches. And it is time to install this middle seal. I actually have a little tool that I made for that. This is just because we used so much that we wanted to go pretty straight. And I just drive it down. Like that. All right, so we got new seal, we got the gear on. And after this point, what we do is just, I believe we are pretty close to be done. So I'm gonna grab my solar gear and I'm gonna lubricate some of the parts. I'll show you what I'm gonna lubricate. Put some grease right there on the seal. Put some grease on the lip. And the shaft. The shaft and this top part right here. This surface, so this is where the bearings are gonna ride. This is where the seal is gonna ride, and this is where the other seal is gonna ride. So little seal from the planetary hub, big seal from the ring gear hub, and the bearings. I just like to put just grease in there so when it starts spinning it's not completely dry. Put that thing right on there. I'm gonna grab my planetary gear hub. On this part, I don't know if you can tell or the camera can focus on it, you can actually see where the old seal was riding on. You can see that line over there. So like I said, that's lubricated. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put this on. You can. This is a little tricky. You have to line up 4 little gears. So spinning it will help you a lot. All right, now the final touches. Again, this is a different type of seal. It is the exact same sizes. It does the exact same. you notice that this one is, there's something special about this. This is a double lip seal. You have the lip on the top and the one on the bottom. This is more like a dust cover, so you don't have anything going in there and making it bad and causing for a seal failure. And also you don't have that cover on the back, that double wall. On this one though, actually what I'm something really important, we do the same thing that we do on the first generation transmission. We take the spring that goes in here inside the lip, we take it out and we replace it with an O-ring. Why is that? Because the spring is pretty heavy. When this thing is spinning at 40,000 RPMs or 42, 45, whatever you are running your engine at, the spring actually it expands. When it comes back down, it comes out of place, and then there goes the seal. You start losing oil, and then bad things are going to happen. So we replace the spring with an O-ring, which is obviously less dense. It doesn't expand as much as the spring, and it does not come out of place. So when you buy a seal like this, or you get it for either, whether it's from Travis at Backwater Performance or from us because it's a warranty deal, you do want to make sure that it comes with that O-ring and that it's in place. And if you don't have it, I would actually recommend, I would call back and say, hey, I did not get my O-ring and I know this will fail, so just wait another couple of days and you'll get it. I would not recommend putting it on without the O-ring or with the spring, because it will fail. It unfortunately it will. And it is not because it's not because of the seals. It's nothing that it's bad engineering or anything. It's just the way these things are made and those seals function. Okay, so if you notice, I actually greased up and lubricated both sides of the seal, because that's gonna make it so it slides better, and I am not flipping any of the, turning any of the lips on the seal. Okay, I am going to actually, this little tool that you use on the Gen 1 transmission, the last video I showed you this tool. I don't remember the tool number, but you can purchase this from Travis, and you can use it on the Gen 1 and Gen 2 transmission. Okay, just tap it. You will see how the seal starts coming down. Okay, I am down far enough. And then again, just give it a couple more taps, just to make sure that it's seated all the way. And that's it. As far as that goes now, same process. I'm actually going to get it out of the vise right now, and I am going to do the same process with these little tiny screws. And I grab my Loctite, put a drop in these threads that I already cleaned out. I chased it. They are a 1/4 thread. Blind holes as well. Put my insulator, and I will show you on that side. I'm going to go ahead and clean up that that break there. I'm actually gonna take it to the other table so I don't create any mess and dust on this one right here. Inside is good. Like I said, you don't necessarily have to use a palm sander. You can use whatever you have in hand. If you have just a little tiny angle grinder, Just don't go too hard on it. You can use a sandblaster. I've used a sandblaster before too. It does a pretty good job. Just whatever you have handy, just make sure that it's even and clean. When you get to do this job, when you start doing it, just make sure, something that I learned, make sure that you have all the parts ready to go when you start doing the job. I have had many times that I made that mistake. I'm like starting on the job and then I have to wait for some screws, or I have to go and try to find something else, you know. Just make sure that you have all the parts ready to go, and right here sitting on the bench, it will make your job a lot easier and less time consuming. You see how easy it's going down? That's because I cleaned up those threads with the tap. Here, I'm gonna show you something really fast. I'm gonna put it back on the vise, because if it gets too tight, too hard to start holding it, and you don't want to hold it with one hand and doing all that stuff, you can use your, like I said, your 1/2-inch bolt, or you can line it up and put this thing on your extension. Line up these two notches with the hole, and then just tighten it like that. I'm gonna grab a couple more paper towels and one last time cleaning. Go around, make sure that there is no oil in this part. This is the important part. Actually, one of the important parts that you definitely don't want oil in this part, or this cage right here, which is also called the armature. Okay, armature, transmission. You got your. If these are not too dirty or anything, you can reuse them. But if it's also not bad if you want to put new drain plugs. What I do, I just put one on there and then put it on the side and then put my oil. This one obviously different than one of the difference between the 1 and 2. This one is going to take double the oil. This one you can actually put anywhere between 2.5 up to 3 ounces of oil. We use the full synthetic motor oil, 10W30. We have the tool to do that too, and just put the oil in there, replace or put that drain screw back on, and then after that you can go ahead and put it back on your motor. One step that it is not 100% necessary. You get to choose. You can actually buy this thing, a rebuilt transmission. You can buy it. You get the option to buy it with the magnet or without the magnet. Most of the time, the magnet does not go bad. What goes bad is something, the seal or something inside the transmission, and you just take that transmission out, put it back on. And take this thing out and put it back on, and that's it. You get to choose between with or without the magnet. That's up to you. Now, the reason why would I not want to replace the magnet? Okay, first reason, because it's not bad and you can still use it. Second, and it makes everything a lot easier. You can, this is sitting on the shaft like that, on the crankshaft. You just get this thing out, you leave the magnet, put the new one on, and slide the transmission back on, and then put it back on. Retension your belt, and you're good to go. Now, if the magnet, for whatever reason you want to replace it or you need to replace it, you have to actually cut the wires, find the leads, rewire it on all again. It is really not that that difficult. It's just some extra steps that you would have to take, and we're talking about another 30-40 minutes of work that if you don't need to. Me personally, I would rather save them, because this magnet is not bad, and it'll save you a few bucks too. So like I said, this is it. This is the rebuilt transmission, generation 2, brand new seals, brand new screws, gear, everything. Why, again, just to recap, why would you want to do this? In the case that the seal went bad, or something inside went bad, or you want to re-gear your motor. It's a 38 and you want it to be a 36, or it's a 36 and you want it to be a 38. That's the process. This is the process. This is what you're gonna have to do, and you will have fun doing it. All right, guys, I appreciate you guys watching this episode, and if you have any more suggestions, what do you want me to see doing, go ahead and drop it either down in the comments, send me an email. You can call me, you can call Keith. There is the phone numbers. We are always happy to help, and if you have any suggestions, again, drop them down there, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.